Algebra 2. I don't have, my pre-cal was all in person. All right, so to where we were. All right, so the first one is actually a circle. We're going to do that one second. But we're going to do these first ones. You should be familiar with this. This is a vertical parabola. And this is a horizontal parabola. And you can actually write that in. I just don't have enough space up there. Makes sense. Vertical is y equals, horizontal is x equals. So you're going to put whatever information you want to put on here. You'll put an example, all the things, and then whatever extra examples we have, you'll write on your normal notes. Okay? So let's look at old school information. Okay? This is from Algebra 1. This is from Algebra 2. This is from the beginning of pre-cal. See if you can remember how to find the vertex, the axis of symmetry, and write an equation in vertex or general form. It's the one with the parentheses. Okay? So go ahead and give those a shot. Yeah, this is on your normal notes. Carter not coming today? David. So it's my vertex. Do I? My vertex. you just say?
I can't say.
Yeah, I did.
I didn't hear it say.
He whispered something to you.
Make that up.
You don't know what your vertex is?
I'd be so honest, I'm not gonna be it.
What do you think?
That would make me sound like an idiot. So.
Go ahead, Matthew. This is a supportive class.
-1, 0.
This is a no judgment zone, Matthew.
Goodness gracious, y'all. Okay. So -1, 0 is our vertex. And then, which means our axis of symmetry goes straight through that. And remember, you have to include that x equals. And then from there, they want an equation. So if we're looking at y equals ax minus h squared plus k, remember hk is your vertex. And then we use an additional point to solve for a that way. Some of y'all learned steps on how to find the a value just by looking at the graph. I don't care either way you want to approach it. Clearly this one didn't stretch or compress, but I'm going to show you this way anyways. So I like to use another point that's easy to see. And I also like to use a point that includes 0. So 0, 1. Oops, another parentheses. So I plugged in my vertex, I plugged in my extra point, and now all I have to do is solve for a. So 1 equals a, and then that becomes a positive 1. 1 squared is just 1, plus 0, all the things we don't have to put. So then a equals 1 in this case. So y equals 1, we don't put. X minus our h, so that becomes a plus 1 squared plus 0 that we don't put. Okay. So there's our equation, our vertex, and our axis of symmetry. Should, in theory, be a review, but if you need to make sure you extra review on that, probably a good idea. So what's my vertex on the next one?
1, -4.
There we go.
Good job, Matthew.
There you go, good. Thank you.
Which means our axis of symmetry is what? Good. Same thing, we use the equation. So I see a point here I can use, which is 0, -2. So -2 is my y, 0 is my x, and then I have my h, which is 1, and my k, which is -4. So -1 squared is 1. Add my 4 to both sides. I get a equals 2. So my equation should be y equals 2. X minus 1 squared minus 4. Again, we're not spending a whole lot of time on the parabolas and stuff like that because it is something we have seen 1,000 times. But if you need reviews on that, please come see me during study hall. Okay? All right, so back onto our chart. The first equation that you're looking at is the vertical. Vertical parabola, we have our axis of symmetry and our vertex. And then the second equation on the right is our horizontal parabola. You'll see how things have changed. You now have y equals k. You still have the vertex hk, but it's going to be weird to find it. And then, of course, your standard forms. Okay, so if you notice, HK is still your vertex. However, H is located over here now, and K is over here. So my rule of thumb is always H is always with X, and K is always with Y, because HK, and that kind of helps too. Especially when we start looking at like circle and ellipse and stuff like that. H and X always go together, and K and Y always go together there. All right, so let's fill in our first example on there. We're going to do just a good old vertical. All right, how do I know automatically that that's a vertical parabola? How did I know automatically that it was going to be vertical?
X minus 1 squared.
Okay. Seeing X in the parentheses squared. Okay. Also that Y is already by itself. So it's going to be easy to get Y by itself. So I can just subtract over that whole term here. Okay, my vertex is going to be 1, 4, which makes my axis of symmetry x equals 1. And remember when we were trying to find an additional point, we looked to the left and right of the axis of symmetry, and we chose one of those points. Again, I like to plug in 0 as much as possible. So if I plug in 0, good morning.
Good morning, Carmen.
Good morning.
Why are you late?
My heart is That's not
Carmen, you should just know it's time to breathe.
and I turned 1.
All right, so -1 squared is just a +1, but the negative that's still out in the front of that is a negative. So we have -1 plus 4 which gets me 3. So 1, 3, hop across the axis of symmetry, and we have a vertical parabola. Okay, vertical parabola meaning it's going up and down. Now, we've always said a parabola can't go left and right because it would not be a function. That's correct, but we're dealing with conics now. So we're going to have parabolas that go left and right as opposed to just up and down.
How do you know?
Huh?
How do you know?
So see how
That's the difference.
y is by itself? We're going to have x by itself. And that's going to tell us that it opens left or right.
So if we just did it really complicated, could we get x by itself here?
Yeah. I don't know why you would. All right, so let's look at a horizontal one. Go ahead and see if you can figure out your vertex and your axis of symmetry. Okay, so vertex. It's backwards now. Who thinks I got it? Or 2.
You haven't rolled it yet, you.
Thanks, man.
All right, so if we're thinking about, if we plot the point 4, 2, our axis of symmetry is no longer up and down. All right, so it's going to be the copy and paste of our y value now. So y equals 2. And I'm going to draw my dotted line. So it's the same thing. I want to pick a number on each side or one of the sides of the axis of symmetry to plug in. Okay. I'm going to pick 1, y equals 1. Now here's the thing. You're plugging in a y value. We're used to plugging in x values. So what happens is we start plugging things in and we get turned around and we get backwards. Okay. So I'm plugging in 1 as my y value. So if you put yourself a little t-table off to the side, it'll help you not get them flip-flopped. Okay. So if I'm plugging in a 1 for y, so 1 minus 2 gets me a -1. -1 squared is 1. So then my x gets me 5. But we're so used to input value being the x and my output value being my y that we would accidentally probably put 1, 5. And if we put 1, 5, then we would be up here and we would draw definitely a different parabola. Okay, so 5, 1. Hop across the axis of symmetry. And we have our horizontal parabola. So just don't get turned around on that. All right. Questions?
Was this horizontal?
Uh-huh.
It's back.
Try this one. This one's on your notes now.
Oh,
You don't have to. I just have one graph on there.
See what I want. Already reading it, right? You do it.
No, I don't do it.
You say that now.
You write that down.
Is that the boys soccer shit?
If coaches send them out to all of us, I like to print them off, but then sometimes it gets to be all over the place when they do send one. But yeah.
We got 2 home games this week.
Well,
Do what?
2 home games.
Um,
Fine, like, tired traveling.
It's funny
Tuesday,
because
against Lenore,
I feel like y'all have been in the thick of it already. And it's almost over.
Yeah, but depending on how we do in districts, we can extend the season by 2 weeks.
Oh, no, I 100% get that. But I'm like, I feel like
It goes quick.
it goes real quick.
Like 2 a week. We played 4 last week.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So what's my vertex here? It's what?
2,
1. Which makes my axis of symmetry y equals 1. Two, 1. I like to plug in 0 because 0 is a whole lot easier to deal with. So I'm plugging in a 0 for y, which makes that negative 1 squared, which is 1. 1 plus 2 gives me 3. So then I plot the point 3, 0. Hop across the axis of symmetry. I have my horizontal parabola. Okay? So one of the main things they wanted us to focus on is, yes, showing you these graphs, showing you how to graph them and all the things about that. They also want us to focus on looking at the equations and changing them from standard form to general form and back and forth, okay? Which brings back up the classic completing the square, all right? So we're just gonna do one of the opposite direction because I think we could all multiply things, but you're on your normal notes now. Go ahead and multiply this out. So it'll be in standard form where it's just x equals and there are no parentheses. So you're just multiplying that all the way out. Just do the first one, just so you have an example. So the reason for us going between the two different forms is on the test I'm giving you both forms. So at the beginning of your test, you have the classic matching, where you get to match the name with the equation. Seems trivial.
I did really good on the first one we did.
Yeah. But you have to know the actual equations to be able to make it work. Now, some might be written in this form down here, and some might be written in this form up here. Now, this is just day one of all this, so if you can see on that chart, there are multiple equations, and especially when we get to the standard form of all of them, they look very similar. Okay, so did you not know there was back to it?
No, I did. I just didn't look at it.
So that's why we need to know how to go both ways on these equations. All right, so that's just multiplying. We can handle that. This way is going backwards using completing the square. Now, when we were completing the square at the beginning of the year, we were working with two sides of the equal sign. Well, we're only working with one side of the equal sign because we want to keep it x equals. Because notice how the original equation in this one is x equals, okay? So we're going to go through both ways, or both of these problems, and then completing the square. So remember, with completing the square, you have to have a leading coefficient of 1. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a 2 out from those first two terms. Remember, we don't include the 5 because we would have to take it out anyways. So mostly with completing the square, we worked with two sides of the equal sign. This is just working with one. Who remembers that little formula we used? B over 2. B over 2.
That sounds right. I agree with that.
Opposite of B over 2A is your vertex formula, yes, but B over 2 squared.
Oh.
Woo! Coming back. All right, so we're going to take B divided by 2 and square it. And yes, we show a crazy amount of work because remember that gives you an answer to the next step. So 1 squared is just 1. What do I put over here?
Plus 1?
No. No.
Times 1.
No.
I swear it was something with the 1.
Was it? No,
To the power of 1.
Do what? What did you say?
I would say nothing.
Carter, what'd you say?
Carter.
I didn't say anything.
No, you did.
Carter, I definitely heard
Carter
Carter
said
say
it was
I
a
don't
tower.
know.
No.
That was Matthew.
I heard the number.
5, 2, 1, 0. Oh, I said something with the 2.
You made that.
That's why I kept saying, what did you just say? What did you just say? Okay, look, this 1 is not just a 1. This is 1 times 2. Okay?
Oh.
So if I am just adding in numbers to an equation, then I also need to take away numbers as well. I can't just like change the value of the problem because I want to. All right, I can make the way it looks different, but if you're working with this on the same side of the equal sign, you need to have a positive version of it and a negative version of it. Okay. So then now if we factor
Oh, I hate factoring so much.
two numbers that multiply to get 1 but add to get 2, remember it's always going to be this number right here. Okay. So y plus 1 squared, and then negative 5 minus 2 is negative 7. So that's if the leading coefficient is something other than 1. Good news is the one you're going to try is already 1, so you don't have to factor anything out.
Do you keep the sign, or is it just whatever the sign is up to you?
Do you keep the sign what?
Like when you put it back in,
Like from here to here?
no, like where the one is.
This is always gonna be positive because it's squared.
Oh my god.
Huh?
There's a furry with my name.
What?
Oh, what?
A furry. But it has my name and it's spelled the same way too. It's not
what's a
it's not
furry?
D-A-N-E, it's D-A-I-N.
That's a long story.
What's
Look up Dane the Deer right now.
No.
What's
No.
a furry?
Oh,
Person
no.
dressed up in a fursuit.
Like,
That doesn't
I don't even know how to explain it,
What was
man.
it?
Dane
Oh my
the
god,
Deer.
this reminds me of great when I had to make Sheldon's Anderson. What a furry was.
That's rough.
A
You want to see a
furry?
picture?
No.
Here.
No, she doesn't.
Oh, no, Dane's kind of cute.
But like people dress up as him. Like, ugh.
Oh, so
I've never seen this.
You've never seen
Seriously?
I've never heard of
It's
it. And
weird,
I've never
but
seen
like,
it.
but
Oh,
it's
you know.
it's got my name. It's spelled the same way too.
you need me to get it for you?
How did you find this?
Probably just
Like my partner told me to look it up.
I can't do this anymore.
Furry.
Yeah.
I can't believe you've never heard that.
I have never heard that, and I've never seen that. That would definitely have taken
Don't do research.
my
Yeah, don't-
attention.
Let's
Don't go
not.
any
Don't go on Reddit.
Don't go on Reddit.
Stay
Okay.
away
Don't go
from
any
that.
further.
Okay. Understood.
Stay in this level of
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird.
It gets weird apparently. All right. Cool.
Oh,
So back to math. I do know about math. So x squared plus 2x. What?
Sorry, David.
What do we put here? B divided by 2 squared gets you what? 1. Now, since we're not multiplying it to any number in front here, we're just going to also subtract the 1. So we get y equals x plus 1 squared minus 8. Okay. Okay. Yeah, not always. You will not do it if you have a leading coefficient that's a negative number. Because if you multiply by a negative, that becomes, you need that to be a positive. Okay. All right. So, I think y'all like circles.
We're doing another one?
Yeah.
We don't have time for another one.
Sure we do.
It's only 7:40.
It's only 7:40.
Only 740?
I need like 20
Only
minutes.
7:40.
Just
Sorry, I'm sorry. 7:39.
Just let us live.
All right, circles. This is the one on the top. It was backwards. So we have our standard form. Your center is your HK,
What is this? Oh, it's that.
and your radius, of course, is R. I would not put this parent function on your graph, as weird as that sounds, because I think it's going to look silly on there. But I'm just going to show you what the graph looks like. But the parent function, you can write this down on there, is just x squared plus y squared equals r squared. And that means the center is 0, 0, and the radius would end up being 1 going all the way around. That's why I said don't waste the graph on there for this little guy.
Pretty good circle. Oh, yeah.
Oh my.
It's like a little soccer ball.
Does it?
I went on it when I want to play with. Hopefully it will go very well.
Hey, don't hate on my circles.
Maybe it's one of those triangle ones from like 2000 BC.
Like it was really deflated. Like it just came out of the fresh ball bag.
Okay, here we are. Hating on my circles.
You do have a circle like pig, so I mean.
I had to remember how that one expanded.
That's
Is that better?
yeah.
Phew.
It's a little off, so.
Yeah. It's just.
No, that's pretty on point.
Well, pretty on point doesn't mean it's on point.
Pretty on point. There you go. Okay. Whoever's listening, that definitely just woke them up. Me yelling, there you go, in there. All right. Now, when we're looking at our general equation, we are going to have our x's, our x squareds and our y squareds together. Then we'll have, and they put like A, B's, and C's with all of these, just to put a number in front. But then it's also set equal to 0. But what you need to know is that the x squareds, which I guess in this case A and B are 1, the x squareds go first, the x squared, y squared, and then your x and y, and then your e, your constant.
Is that formula up there, the standard one?
Yeah.
I didn't write down that formula.
Oh, that's the general equation.
Yes.
The general equation, the standard, oh no, that's up there. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, it's gotta be the general.
Yeah, I see that now, okay?
Matthew, it's okay. I forgive you.
Boy.
Is it E equals 0?
Yeah.
I feel like my stamina for 7 a.m. is deteriorating as the year goes on.
That's
Right.
what I usually
I
do.
get that.
It needs to be, it's hard to pay attention.
Also that.
All right. This is how simple this is. So you're still gonna treat the parentheses like how we always do the opposite. If it's inside the parentheses, we're gonna do that still with our center. So H is always with our X and K is always with our Y. So our center is just gonna be -1, 3. So this one you can put on your chart. So I go to -1, +3. Then what's my radius? 5. So I'm gonna go 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't draw normal circles now.
Will you count points off if our circles look bad?
Do it.
Will you count off points if our circles look bad?
I don't know. Y'all are hating on mine, so.
I never hated on yours.
I
called it a soccer
I should be
ball.
exempt from this.
You
Actually, it's a really
called
good
it a soccer ball.
It
I
looked
see
like a
those
soccer
every
ball
day.
because it was so close together and it had the little dots looked like the little.
That's like the traditional
Right.
cheesy like soccer ball.
Right.
Those look at you.
That looks like a soccer ball is a valid statement.
In 1970.
Okay, that's what I just meant. That's the old timey ones.
Makes sense.
1970s.
I don't know if there's a correlation between Communist Party and soccer balls, but
There definitely is. No, it.
1980 was a long time ago.
All right, moving on. Any questions on this? You guys are nuts.
For ages, I guess.
This is just boring, bro.
Okay, let's do one of these. So we are moving the graph. So this is back on your normal notes. Okay, the equation is x squared plus y squared equals 9, but we moved 4 units to the left and 3 units up.
How do I find out what the sign is?
Look at the original. No, look at the original equation. What's with x? But what's with the x squared?
Or 1. I don't know how to space that. Why?
The same thing to write it as x plus 0.
Oh.
So y'all were too busy
So it's just 0.
hating on my soccer ball to notice that that was the parent function with the center 0, 0.
Mhm.
I hated on it plenty. I still got that.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hate on
Mhm.
it. You just-
I
Mhm.
was like, I didn't do it.
Carter's smart enough to know that he doesn't bite the hand that feeds him because he doesn't want me to hate on
Listen,
Oh,
his
yes,
circle.
he does.
Listen,
No,
listen.
he bites the hand all the time.
I really,
You
I really like your circles.
Call it a softball. I play with basketball every day.
Yeah, but you play with like the fancy new ones with like different colors. I'm used to the good old black and white soccer ball.
The soccer ball emoji is.
What year were you
I mean,
playing?
it might as well have
The
a hammer in the
60s?
second one.
Hi, you know me. Wasn't even born in the 60s.
Sorry,
Oh,
70s.
she was born in the 50s.
All right, Carter, you're back on my list. All right, so if the center was originally in 0, 0, then we're just going to move it 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left and up 3. And our radius did not change. So we're still going to go over 3, up 3, down 3, all the things.
No.
I lost it at the end. I always lose it at the end.
It's that bottom right one, man. Practically perfect. It's okay.
I think that's a really good circle.
Thank you.
Mine's the
You're
wrong
welcome.
too.
You will make an A.
Yay.
Wait a minute.
Nepotism.
That's not what it is.
We're distant cousins. Okay, this one's more like an-
I would be surprised in my world. I have so many cousins.
I have 0.
You 0 cousins.
This is 0 cousins.
Oh, I'm a single cousin.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's not possible.
I don't have a cousin.
How?
Are they all dead? You
No, I
killed
just
them?
don't
Oh.
have any.
So your parents don't have siblings, and then
No, they do. They
and
just don't have
the
kids.
siblings don't-
They just didn't have kids.
The bloodline ends with you.
Okay, we'll start with the lower number. My mom's one of 9,
So,
and my dad's one of 14. So I've got all the cousins. Okay, so what if they give you diameter divided by 2? Okay, so we don't have to do that one. All right, so same thing we were doing before. We're just going to do the top one of the distributing. And we're going to put it in general form. So go ahead and distribute that out. Get your squares in front and make sure it's equal to 0. And then we're going to complete the square.
I don't know how to do it. That's cool. How's that legal?
I don't know if it is.
Who did you have to be 16 to work in a restaurant? Or is that bad cap?
it's kind of happy.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, because we just hired a
It's
14.
11 times
Yeah, the
11.
people I work for hire at
Anyone know
14.
11 times 11?
You just have like some major
21.
restrictions on what you do.
Thank
Oh, yeah, that's facts. I agree with you.
You can't use any blenders, you can't use any machinery, no knives, no stoves, no grills.
So if they're not doing
No grills. How am I supposed to look good?
I like that.
No, I'll be honest, it's just, it made me go,
So we hired him
It's
as
like
like fucking cashier.
You ever seen me play keeper?
I mean,
Do you wear a mouth guard?
No.
You should wear a mouth guard, that's cool.
Get one of those like huge knee braces. Metal shin guards. Hurt some kids.
My shin guards were not metal.
Break some cloud.
Put some steel toe in my cleats.
But I will say, to age myself, I did have it where it had the, like, you wore the whole thing. The ankle.
It's typically you
guards.
once you're like 10 or 12. Past that, you'll get made fun of. We make him potato that wears one. We make fun of him every day.
Oh, don't do
Did
that.
y'all see the?
We
the
gave him real
slip-on-
ones. He just won't wear them.
Did y'all see the slip-on steel toes that Amazon making people work with?
No.
Like they have slip-on,
Like hey dude,
Steel
steel
toes.
toes.
Like shoes.
Jeez.
I'm
like they
buying
put them
some.
over their shoes. Yeah.
I need me some.
What if I came in with steel toe shoes?
I don't
Part
know.
of
Did y'all already finish this problem?
Yeah,
Charlotte?
yeah,
yeah.
it's not that bad.
I hear yeah and no.
I said yes.
Huh?
Soccer. Yes. Against soccer because of homies.
Really?
Makes sense.
Because of clothes?
It adds up.
Soccer's a common sport.
It
Oh.
really is.
What?
They just share that ball around everywhere, all the way.
Yeah,
to the
so
field.
you do basketball.
I think only the people that earn that ball should have it.
I know. They don't say that about soccer, do
They
they?
don't say that about
So you know.
What do they say on soccer?
Okay,
Americans never passed it on baseball.
we're done with this conversation.
Are
Did you ever watch
We
a
are.
match of baseball?
Yeah, you're only allowed to run a baseball if you earned it.
If you earned it.
What about football?
That's second to baseball. It's only American.
You only get to run in baseball if you earned it. What about outfield?
Well, they earned the right to run an outfield.
Yeah, but like if they catch the ball, they earned it after. That's not how that works.
Yeah, your theory doesn't work.
No, they earned it by failing at hitting
People
the
on,
ball.
people on offense only have to earn it.
Oh, now we're making it specific. Okay, so this is what I mean. The x and y squares need to be up front, and then the then x and y, and then we just have it set equal to 0. Okay. So you're gonna be given questions that look like this, and you're gonna be given questions that look like this. All right. So we want to be able to go in between the two forms. Because once we start getting into the ellipse and the hyperbola, that line right there set equal to 0, the general form is going to look similar on all the others. Okay? So let's go backwards. We're going to complete the square twice.
They should have kept this number too, so I could already done it and then
Algebra 2 does not need any more.
they can have more.
They're fine.
They're fine.
I don't even remember when they take algebra.
I don't remember either.
Class was easy.
I wouldn't say easy.
Even after?
Yeah, I don't remember.
All right, so we're going to complete the square twice. I'm going to move my x's together.
So I can't factor. I just don't remember.
She didn't teach it.
That's what it is.
I actually like that thing.
She happened to teach you how to
Sounds
factor.
Typical. Blame the teacher. All right, so you probably were talking while I was trying to teach it.
Aiden never.
Not in that class.
Aiden's a good student.
All right,
Well,
moving
well.
on.
Couldn't even get that out of the show.
So we want to, and I'm just doing different colors so you can see what's going on here. So I'm going to pull my X's together, leave a blank. I'm going to pull my Y's together and leave a blank. And then I'm going to go ahead and move that 29 over. And I'm going to add myself a blank for the first one and the second one. Okay. So now we are working on both sides of the equal sign. So now I automatically have put that plus sign there. Okay. Before I just put a blank because I didn't know if it was going to be positive or negative. Now that we're working on both sides of the equal sign, that's going to be positive. So we complete the square twice. So negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is 1. Negative 16 divided by 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 squared is, wait, yeah. I had to make sure, I almost said,
Thanks, Matthew. Appreciate it.
I don't know why I said, almost said 81. It's the 8 trend.
Where did my-
Okay. So then now, factors of 1 that get us negative 2 are going to be negative 1 and negative 1. Factors of 64 that get me negative 16. And when you add all of that up over here, what'd y'all get?
Yes.
94.
No.
That's a negative 20.
It's a negative
Negative 29.
Freaking idiot.
Thank you, Carter.
35.
Is it, no,
it's 36.
So Carter, what's the answer?
36.
Oh, 36.
thank you, Matthew, for giving Carter the
No. I figured it out right when Matthew said it.
Right when he said it. Nice.
No. I was doing it, and then I got
Why
it, and then
can you not do that?
I did it in my head.
Why were you writing it? You did it on paper. I see that somewhere.
No, I didn't. I
You're
didn't.
shaming someone for doing math on paper?
I didn't do it on paper.
That's old school.
He's copying me.
It
Bro,
is
I saw a fourth grader do that last week. He was like,
What?
"You just did that on paper. I was just doing it in your head." I was like,
Yeah, but
We slapped the fourth grade.
That was the thing.
Okay.
That
So
was
our
the
center-
first
No, a fourth grader shamed another fourth grader for doing math on
the day I
paper.
saw
That fourth
That
grader.
was the day I just went, "Shut up."
Wasn't fourth grade the first year we had like honors classes?
I don't know. I didn't
I'm
live
pretty
here.
sure I remember that
Everything
was.
okay?
Yeah, just kids were running down the hallway, but I know one of them, so.
How fast were they?
So that's okay.
Really
Well,
What was their 40
I know
time?
he wouldn't be up to something.
Yeah, practical.
So our center would be 1/8, and our radius would be 6, and we would be able to graph from there. Okay. So that's going that way. We're gonna do one more of those
Okay.
to make sure we know what we're doing. There it is.
Pretty sure we know what we're doing.
Yep.
I ran out of paper. though.
Make sure you can do math.
Dang, Carter. What? I woke up late.
There you go.
Duty, you man. You know what? Just for that, I'm not gonna give y'all the box of Dayton. I'm just gonna keep the box myself.
What? I don't either. I think he's making things up again.
That's 29. 92. So you add these ones, right? Just say, yeah, okay.
Did you figure it out, Matthew?
Oh, yeah, I know. That's all I do.
Sound good?
All right, Carter, what'd you get at the end?
Oh, 121.
Nice, Carter. That's what I got.
So I don't care.
So a couple of things I want to make sure you don't forget. One is this plus sign right here. People forget it all the time. I don't know what it is.
Mhm.
Also, don't forget that this is X and this is Y because we're so used to putting X and X and X all over the place, okay? But X goes here, Y goes here. Just don't forget that when you're, especially when you're factoring, a lot of times we have a tendency to just put X, okay? So those are the things just to make sure to not forget. Okay? Any questions? Do y'all need 4 more of those?
No. I didn't do my homework.
You can
What do you mean?
get started on your homework.
That part